Jagmeet Singh as a seat in Parliament. It's an important milestone, both for him, obviously it's good to be in the House, for his party, it's going to be a good momentum builder towards the federal election, but also it's a big deal for Canada. It's the first time that a racialized leader will be sitting in Parliament heading up a major federal political party in this country. You know, history's been made. And I think it's important Jagmeet is there because he's really going to put focus on some key issues that are extremely important to everyday Canadian. First, Singh, I think, has a credible voice, so does the NDP broadly, on really challenging this historic collusion, for lack of a better term, of Canada's elite, who have, through official and unofficial means, sort of intermingled to such an extent that they have incredible sway over our cultural, political, economic, intellectual, social systems. As he put it, the game is rigged. The game is rigged against regular people who need housing, who need healthcare, who need medicine, who need education, who need the sorts of things that make our society great, that give people basic dignity, and that really make real this supposed value of equality of opportunity that supposedly the Liberals and Conservatives believe in. So Singh has talked about those things. I just want to play a clip right here.
And what we'd like to see in this budget is a commitment to work for people. We want to see a commitment to ensuring that every Canadian has access to affordable, quality housing. We want to see commitments that assure that our young people have a bright future where we defend our environment and create an opportunity for employment that reduces our emissions. We want to see this government ensure that we have true and real reconciliation, addressing the injustices that continue to impact Indigenous communities across Canada. We want to see a commitment to make sure that the most powerful and the richest pay their fair share, contribute their fair share to society to make sure we've got the programs that we need. And we want to see a commitment to universal, publicly delivered, single-payer medication for all.
So as you can see, Singh has really kind of centered this priority list that, you know, because of this rigged game, we need a different path forward. And we're really going to emphasize housing and universal pharmacare and taxing the rich and taxing, you know, the wealthy to pay for those things. It's a clear message. It's an important message. I think it's a message that will find support among significant amounts of Canadians. And I think it's important because it will challenge the Liberal status quo. A lot of Canadians right now are concerned about Justin Trudeau. He's broken key promises on things like electoral reform. And a lot of people are concerned about potential issues of both scandal and how women are treated within his cabinet. And I think that while a lot of those people certainly don't want to go to Andrew Scheer, because I think they're at least not wrong in saying that he may be just as bad, if not worse, on those matters, I think they are open at least to lending their vote to Jagmeet Singh and the NDP, who are offering perhaps many of the things Trudeau was offering, but more genuinely, and are offering a kind of more strident and progressive version of those things. So look for that. Look for Jagmeet Singh to talk about things that Justin Trudeau sort of is talking about, but in a more concrete manner. Not just a kind of 10-year housing plan that's going to start sometime after the election, but an immediate approach that deals with the core issues of housing. Not just a, pharmacare plan that maybe sort of might happen and maybe sort of might offer improved coverage, but as he notes, a universal single-payer pharmacare system that will kind of be in the vein of our existing Medicare system. These are the things that Singh has talked about. Justin Trudeau, he might at times raise taxes a couple points on rich people, but Singh has mentioned the need, as early as his leadership campaign, that we not only need to raise income taxes, we not only need to raise corporate taxes, but we need to raise capital gains taxes, and we need to raise taxes on the wealthiest estates in this country. So unlike Justin Trudeau, who maybe will, bump up the income tax here and there on some of the wealthier Canadians, Singh is actually going to go after wealth itself and tax wealth itself as it pertains to those people who, one, have a lot of wealth sitting there in their bank accounts and in their portfolios, and then two, the people who derive a significant portion of their income not from work by brain or by muscle, but from, the speculation and profit making and investments and other forms of capital gains income, which currently is taxed, significantly less compared to, the amount of money that somebody earns through their labor. So I'm excited to see all this. But that's not the only place Jagmeet is set to make a mark. As many of you know, 50 people, maybe more, were killed in a Christchurch attack on a mosque. The shooter in that was allegedly inspired by alt-right theories like the Great Replacement, which are rooted in some of the discourse of some Canadian far-right white nationalists like Faith Goldy and like Lauren Southern and many, many others, of course. And our political leaders in some cases have failed to really call this out. Andrew Scheer at first totally failed to mention that this was an attack on Muslims. And Maxime Bernier has said, while he doesn't comment on these things, we have direct proof that he has commented on international attacks when committed by Muslims instead of on Muslims, showing that he uses these events rather hypocritically as a opportunity to spread hate against non-Christian and non-white populations. But Singh has taken this position quite strongly. He's spoken unequivocally against this hate, this division that sometimes leads to people taking violent paths. Take a listen to this clip.
Let me just begin with this terror attack in New Zealand, allegedly the work of a white supremacist. Do we here in Canada have to do more, and political leaders, to call out extremist groups like this?
Yes, absolutely. We know that there's brewing and growing uncertainty and fear, and there's some folks that use that fear and uncertainty to point at people who are not responsible for the problems that our society is facing. And when that happens, it actually creates the terrain, it creates the landscape where hate can grow. And we know that hate is like a fire. Once allowed to grow, it spreads, consuming everyone.
So it's clear then that Jagmeet is going to make fighting hate in our political discourse a core priority of his. It's crucial because I think that he needs to, and we all need to, really challenge those who perpetuate it within the discourse. And for instance, Singh, in a recent tweet, I'll post that up here, he's mentioned this failure on some of our politicians to call hate, to call Islamophobia, to call white supremacy, and to call racism and bigotry for what it is, and how these people allow this hate to fester. And these are people like Andrew Scheer and Maxime Bernier in some ways. And I think Singh is right to call these folks out. But it's not just that, of course. Singh has been at vigils, and he's shown support to the Muslim community. Of course, as you know, Jagmeet Singh in that leadership campaign in 2017 was attacked by a kind of far-right protester, attacking him with denigrating words about Muslim people. Of course, Jagmeet Singh is not a Muslim. He is a Sikh man, but he stood against that hate, and he stood for, welcoming all Canadians on equal and positive and optimistic terms. But one thing's crucial here as well is that Singh isn't separating the discussions here about a rigged game by the 1% against the 99% and a system of hate that makes it dangerous for certain Canadians, non-white and non-Christian Canadians, to go about their daily lives. Those things are linked for Singh, and he's right to make that link. And there's actually a recent piece by Singh in the Toronto Star, and in that piece, Singh makes a pretty clear and convincing argument that if we want to fight hate and intolerance and prejudice and xenophobia, the roots of those things all lead, at least in part, to economic injustice. Singh would note in that piece that the Maxime Berniers, the Andrew Scheers, Doug Fords, and hecklers of the world are peddling what can sound like a very simple solution. Keeping immigrants out means more jobs for the rest of us, being able to afford a better apartment, smaller class sizes for our kids, shorter wait times at the hospital. Never mind all the evidence to the contrary. According to Scheer, keeping immigrants out is a panacea. So in some ways here, he's directly challenging this idea. He's noting how the right, in various ways, sometimes more explicit than others, use the economic insecurity that they experience and try to connect the two, however disingenuously. They'll say this is about better public services even as they attack them and privatize them. So Singh has said we need to look at this differently. We need to link the fight for racial and social and economic justice in a sort of trifecta, because there's no other way forward. As Singh puts it, if we really want to stop hate, we need to do more than just call it out. We need to recognize that it is growing economic inequality that creates the conditions for hate to fester. That's the reality Andrew Scheer is trying to exploit. The economic injustice that has left so many very hard-working Canadians wondering why they can't make ends meet, and what or who is to blame. I met a lot of those Canadians who Scheer hopes will tune into his message. Workers juggling multiple jobs just to pay the rent, and wondering why good quality long-term work is so hard to find. Families that, every month, are just a few dollars away from not being able to pay their bills. Students grappling with debt and a job market with very little to offer. Seniors having to choose between paying for groceries and the medications they need. Parents struggling to find childcare they can afford and rely on. Too many wondering how they'll ever retire without living in poverty. It doesn't have to be this way. And Singh is right. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be the case that we choose between, right-wing xenophobia and a sort of Trudeauvian liberalism, which speaks positively of Canada's cosmopolitanism, but whose disregard for working people of all races, of all religions, of all genders, of all cultures, leads to this sort of distrust and social collapse and social decohesion. It doesn't have to be this way. We can build a society where all people are welcome and where all people have human dignity. And it requires a progressive and social democratic solution. It's not found under the old ways of allowing the quote-unquote market to sort it out. That's not the solution forward. We need planning, we need social solidarity, we need the acceptance that all people have human dignity, and Jagmeet Singh is the only political leader in this country federally who is ready to offer that. So I'm glad he's coming to Ottawa. Canada needs him. There needs to be an alternative to Andrew Scheer and Justin Trudeau, who, while disagreeing on some key issues, are often united against workers, united against pensioners, united against Indigenous people who need housing, and united against migrants trying to escape from Trump's horror show down south. We need an alternative to the liberal conservative status quo, and Jagmeet Singh is that alternative.